Slinky Loop, but we're first of all going to take a look at the board that we have here. And this board is constructed out of a 4x8 sheet of plywood with two 2x4s screwed through from the bottom. The distance is 3 feet from the inside edges of the two 2x4s, and starting from the discharge end of the board, we lay off marks 18 inches, and these 18-inch marks are the spacings on the loops for an earth loop. You will notice the small divisions in the middle. These smaller divisions are used when we're constructing a pond loop slinky, and we use a 4-inch pitch instead of an 18-inch pitch. So this board is just built very basically, set on a pair of sawhorses, very portable. So the board is the first thing that you're going to need to get set up. The coil of loop pipe. This coil of loop pipe is we've mounted it on a rotating table. So that it's easy to turn. That's not necessary. You can turn it laying on the ground, but I want you to note that we have laid it on the table so that the coil, this outside ring is up, and it spins counterclockwise as I look down from the top. First thing I want you to note is that there's two sets of bandings. We have the banding of the whole spool, and then the banding of the half spool. So the first 400 feet are single banded. The inside 400 feet are double banded at this point. First thing we're going to do is we're going to cut the outside bands. I want you to note that the pipe is labeled 00800. That's the 800-foot mark. Be sure and keep the cap on. And then if I come back 2 feet, I'll find 00798. And 2 feet farther back, I'll find the next number of 00796. Every 2 feet. And then of course at the end. So we're going to want to watch these foot marks as we're building the Slinky Loop. We already have some loose coils. So at this point in time, we'll just take these coils and we just slide them up on the Slinky board. Since this is going to be a earth loop slinky, we're going to take the first 15 feet and lay it on the ground. We're not going to do anything with it. So there is 776. So I'm right here. There's my first 15 feet. And then we basically come right up to that edge, lay that one in, bring this one to this 18-inch mark, the next loop. Notice how I had to resize the circle so that I was 3 feet. Now that helps us bring this next one in place, and this one has to come down to here. So that means I have to supply some more pipe. The important thing is to take a spinner like this and an earth loop tie wire like this, and any place that we see a cross, we put the wire in, bring the two loops together. We will hook the spinner in it and basically spin it down. As you see it moving, or if it shifts a little bit, try to make your adjustment. Quite frequently we'll put 2 men on this side of the table and 1 man on the other side of the table because there's just about twice as many of them to do. So we're basically twisting the sides. Now, this point right here we will not put a twister on. And the reason we will not put a twister here is because if you want to roll this slinky up in a roll, these pieces need to be able to flex. If these pieces can't flex, it'll be very difficult to roll this slinky into a roll to store it. If you tied these together and laid the slinky out flat and left it flat, it won't hurt a thing. But trying to roll it up and store it, you do not want these tied. So at this point, Dan and I will finish tying up this section, and then we'll bring that section off the board and start and show you how to continue. Alright, so at this point in time, one person feeds the pipe from the back and one person pulls this off the board. I'd like you to really note what Dan was doing back there. The coils, because we can rotate the coil and compensate for any movement that we've had, we just lift the coils up and they slide right on the table. And so what we're really doing is we're just doing this and sliding it right on the table. We don't want to have to flip or twist. Just uncoil the roll as the pipe starts to tighten up. Okay, let's take and finish slipping this in here. Now you'll notice that Dan and I are being a little fussy here. It's not critical that these are perfect. It's more uniform, but it isn't critical in the operation of the slinky that these are perfect. Once we've done that, we just go back to work. What we've been doing here is just continued until we get the entire 800-foot spool made up in this slinky format like I have here in my hand. We keep sliding it ahead, each time doing 4 more circles. We will not cut that center band until we get to that point. However, I said something earlier about the numbers on the pipe. Remember, a earth loop slinky made out of an 800-foot spool is approximately 95 feet long. So that means I need to have 95 plus 15 if my first header was 15 feet. So I need 110 feet of pipe left to get back to that end that I don't slinky. So as you're building your slinky, really be careful and watch that length of pipe as you're getting towards the end so you don't have to undo. If you overshoot, big deal, just cut a few circles off. It's a little over 9 feet per circle, so that's pretty easy to calculate. And that's an earth loop slinky. Just keep it going.